All right, take two. Let's try that again. Everybody, I'm so excited to be here with WWE Hall of Famer Luke Williams. You know him as Bushwhacker Luke. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Bloody lovely to your mother, mate.
Can I get a whoa? Can we get one of those?
Oh, boy, no. You can certainly get a big one. Whoa, g'day, mateys. How you doing there, Eric? Hey, I've got a bloody good head. I could give that a good bushwhacker licking, mate.
I did that just for you today, so I would hope that you would say something like that. Just absolutely fantastic to be here with you, sir. I don't know where to start because you have such a storied history in wrestling. You've been involved with wrestling for 55 years, starting way back in New Zealand before wrestling was even on TV. Can you tell me how you got into the business?
The next door neighbor, mate. He was a bodybuilder, and he came second in Mr. New Zealand. The judge for Mr. New Zealand was the wrestling promoter in the country. So the guy said to my neighbor, he said, "You want to make some money with that body?" So he started going into the gym. The gym was like a gym in the first Rocky movie.
Okay.
The old steam pipes rattling, the old kettlebells lying around the floor, no machines, just a squat rack and a bench press rack, and two rings, boxing rings. You know, the floors were as hard as the floor I'm standing on, and that was 4 ropes.
Wow, that's crazy. So, and
it took me
go ahead.
About 6 months down the road, him going there, he asked me if I'd like to come in, and that I was around 175 wet then, 175-pound wet.
Wow, that's nuts. And then you started in NWA Wrestling New Zealand, which became All Pro Wrestling New Zealand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
How long did you spend there before you hit the States?
I spent New Zealand. I started in 62, but wrestling wasn't full-time till 66, 7 days a week. And then Butcher Me hit the States with North America in 72.
72. Now, is that when the sheep herders gimmick was in full swing, or did you come to the States as another gimmick?
No, we was Sweet William and the Brute. And because there was already a Brute in the States, Brute Barnard, and there was the Brute before that, they changed Butcher's name to Crazy Nick Carter.
Crazy Nick Carter.
We first hit North America in an office in Montreal, mate, called Grand Prix. And the main stars there were Andre the Giant and Killer Kowalski, the gentleman that trained Triple H and China. And we'd met those. They'd both been in. I'd been working in Australia in the 60s, so I knew Killer Kowalski, who was a big star in Madison Square Garden in the 60s and 70s. And of course, Andre, he was Gene Ferry, and that he'd been to New Zealand in the 60s before he came to North America. So he knew Andre well too. Butcher Me had wrestled him every night in New Zealand for about a month and a half.
Wow.
In the 60s.
That's crazy. So can you share an Andre story? Did he just like wipe the mat with you guys?
Yeah, but mate, I could tell a lot of Andre stories, mate. But one of the ones that everybody knows is when Andre was always traveling first class in WWF. We were in the back in the economy. You know, there's only a couple of guys that Vince in the 80s put up in first class. Andre, when he had gas, he would get up and walk down the back and let it off, and everyone would go like this. and he would be going, as he drove down there. Boy, you know, he had one hell of a smell when he farted. He was, what a good guy too. They'd have to pull the back curtains over there in the back. He couldn't get in the toilets. They had to use a bucket for him there to pee in or whatever.
Yeah, that's insane. That's guys, if you're counting this morning, we're about 7 minutes into this interview and we're getting Andre farting stories. That's a great way to start an interview.
And I got another one too. Butcher Me, when we were first in North America, up in Quebec, we were right up the top of Quebec in the Northern Territories and that was Andre and His manager was Frank Vawa, and we're coming back from a week run way up the top of Canada, and we're driving back towards Montreal, which was about a 7-hour trip. They picked up 72, him and Frank picked up 72 beers. Within 2 hours, those 72 beers were gone for 3 hours. So we had to stop again at a truck stop. Me and Butch and another guy were in our car, and Andre and his manager in the other car, Gene Valwa. He was a big guy too, about 270. Andre was around 400 now, 400 pounds. Not like he was when he died. Anyhow, we get out of this truck stop. It's maybe 2 a.m. And there's a lot of you. It was summertime, and there was kids there, and they saw us. Butch and me had blonde hair and black beards, and they started yelling out the gay word for gays. I can't think of the name in French. Petite. I can't even think of the word, mate. Okay. Anyhow, we go into the restaurant. It was a truck stop where you could go to the counter around one side and get food, and the other side was all the truck shits. Anyhow, they were giving us hell. So they got out and followed us in. We went to the counter to eat. And Andre got out of the car with Frank. And, of course, he had already drank 72 beers. He went to their Volkswagen, and he lifted it up and put it on its side. Now, that's how strong he was when he was young. He was, mate, he was super strong. You know, when I first met him in New Zealand, he was only 370 pounds. But when I met him in Montreal 3 years later, he was in the early fours then, but young and strong.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a crazy, crazy time. We got some questions coming in, Luke. I want to get to those. But before we do that, I want to talk about the sheep herders, because when you guys were down in Florida, the sheep herders was a great, great gimmick. Can you tell me about that gimmick and who came up with it? And because you guys were a perfect heel team, and you got to WWF and it got changed to the Bushwhackers, which is great. But tell me about the sheep herders.
Sheep herders, mate. Butch and me picked up on this American. New Zealand was English style wrestling, European. We picked up on this American wrestling when we went over to Australia in the 60s and worked for World Championship, which was owned by Jim Barnett, which started World Championship Wrestling in the States here. And we learned to kick and punch. So when we come to North America, we were Sweet William was Beauty and the Beast. I led Butch around on a collar and chain, and then he was the Beast, and I was the Sweet William and Brute Miller. That's how we were originally, and they changed it to Crazy Nick Carter, and we were wild. So when we came into the States in say 79. Yeah, we worked across Canada. And when we come into the States, maybe late 78, 79, the names were changed from the Kiwis, New Zealand Kiwis, to the sheep herders, because they'd known us as a farming country. Mm-hmm. You know, 3 million people, 100 million sheep. That's why every guy had a smile on his face.
That's awesome.
Anyhow, and we became... You know, we became a pretty brutal team, and that as we were known later in the mid-'80s, we were hardcore before, or what we're known in the 90s, we were hardcore before hardcore became a name brand. We were doing all these barbed wire cage matches, all brutal matches, you know, blood and gut matches. And we got a big name for it, especially in the Latin countries, South America, Puerto Rico, Florida, Texas, where there's a lot of Latinos. Mm-hmm. You know, they love blood and guts.
Right. Well, I'm here in Texas, so you don't have to explain that to me. So tell me about the transition to the WWF. When did you know that Vince wanted to change the gimmick and put you out as the Bushwhackers?
Well, when we went up to meet him in the office, and that day when we had a meeting with him, and he said to us, you've been around a long time. What about you guys becoming the good guys? And Butch got up and leaned over his desk. His nose was about a foot from Vince's. He says, if you can make these faces, the good guys, go for it. And of course, I was old-fashioned. I'd been a booker in many wrestling territories, and I says, well, bring us in as the bad guys and turn us. And you didn't tell Caesar. That was Vince's nickname at the time. You didn't tell him what to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. He says, no, I can bring you in and that. He says straight away to Butch, look at my top good guys, my baby faces. Hulk Hogan. He says, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jake the Snake. Have they got pretty mugs? And we said, no, they haven't got pretty mugs. Hence he gave us the name, not straight away. When we got home 2 days later, there was contracts in the mail as we were working for NWA at the time out of Charlotte. And there was contracts in the mail saying we're the Bushwhackers. There was a new name and that. And of course, Butch says, I think we've got the wrong contracts. And I says, no, Vince wants to own us. He wants to own the name, of course, for merchandising. So he saw at the time, Crocodile Dundee was a big thing going on in the 80s, late 80s. And this was 88. He straight away, he saw, well, he can sell merchandise from these two Down Under guys. Hence, we started doing vignettes, 2-minute movies of all that, the Down Under stuff, the wrong side of the street, because the cars drive on the other side of the road down there. We just did a lot of stuff. We didn't know what a drink machine was or anything. We hadn't seen any of these things. You know what I mean? The American way of life. And that's when we did the videos.
Those videos were great with Mean Gene Oakland. What was it like working with Mean Gene then? Because he helped make those videos great. You guys did a wonderful job, but together they were just an absolute wonderful piece of work. How was Mean Gene?
Eric, Mean Gene was the master of doing interviews. If you had a dead spot in an interview, Mean Gene was right there and just fed you, so you carried on. Those things, he was the best. There was another guy too, Lord Alfred Hayes. We did a few stuff with him. The electricity one, when we're cutting through the wall and we hit some electrical wiring and he started. And Mean Gene, they were great with Mean Gene. He was, because he always put them over so well, especially when we were eating bushwhacker buzzard up in the mountains in Arizona.
Yes, that's so great. So great. Let's talk about your induction to the WWE Hall of Fame. Did you ever think that was going to happen in 2015 when you got the call? What did you think?
Oh, man. It was about bloody time. When they said it on the internet, on the social media, everybody says, why are they putting those two bloody idiots in? All they did was comedy on WWE. No one knew that we had been wrestling. We had wrestled the Rock's grandfather in Australia and New Zealand, Prince Peter Maivia, High Chief Peter Maivia, the Rock's father all over the world, Rocky Johnson, Killer Kowalski. We had wrestled Stu Hart, Bret Hart's father, in the early 70s. He came in with two of the Hart. Bret was only 12 or 13 then, but he came in with two of the sons, the older sons, and worked against the shows in Edmonton and Calgary. None of the folks knew that till we got on and told them, and then they realized that we'd been around a long time.
I got you. Hey, we just got the 5-minute warning, so I want to get some questions here. We had some good ones. Here's one from Sean. What was your favorite match of the WWF, if you can still refer to it as the WWF?
Yeah, favorite match, I'd say, Wembley Stadium in London, I think it was 91, 92, and that it was a 6-man, us with Jim Duggan against the Mountie and the Nasty Boys. 94,600 people there, and we went and marched out. The aura was incredible. The noising, they've got 94,000 just looking at 6 people in the ring, And the second, and maybe the main thing was in the 80s when WrestleMania and Hulkamania was running wild with the Battle Square Gardens, the mecca of sports and entertainment. And then Hulk Hogan was the last to come to the ring. Butch could put his mouth in my ear and I wouldn't hear a word he said.
Wow.
The noise was unreal. That's when it was running. That's when Hulkamania was running wild.
That's right, Mike. And you might have just answered that question, but Mike says, "What was the city with the most energetic fans that really got you into the matches?"
Oh well, Madison Square Garden,
Oh,
Philly,
okay.
all those big ones around New York. Those are hot. We were hot in those towns. Boston Gardens, the old Boston Gardens with all the rats. I'm not talking about the female rats. I'm talking about the four-legged ones.
Yeah, I got you. So we got just a couple of minutes left here. I want to ask Luke, do you watch the product today, and what are your thoughts on it today?
Mate, today the product has changed a lot. The evolution of time. As Dusty said to this when we were working for NWA in '86, he said, "This is going to be a television industry," which it has turned out to be. You know what I mean? The house shows are over, more or less, and today they're all great athletes, great bodies, and great wrestlers, but the characters are not there like they used to be. In my era, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Honky Tonk Man, Jake the Snake, Demolition, the Road Warriors, the Bushwhackers, Coco Beware, Bam Bam Bigelow. We're all characters. You know what I mean?
Right.
One-man gang.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, we got to wrap this up. I'm getting the time. We got to go. Luke, I want to say thank you to you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good time. People in the chat really loved it, and this is something that's got to happen more often.
Sorry to jump on with you guys. Just to let you know, because the conversation was so good, what we have is a special session room for both of you if you wanted to continue on the chat. I'm going to put the link there, and that way you can continue this conversation on for another 20 minutes just because I felt like we were cut short. And I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I was enjoying all of it. Does that work for you, Eric, and work for you?
Yeah, I'm fine. If Luke is good with it, I'm good.
All right, and for all the fans who are watching, I will have that chat back there very shortly. So yeah, just look in the chat for the link, and I'll have you guys up. So we'll see you very soon.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Hey, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? You hear me, Eric?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How can I sell some photos, or can I show photos on the show to see if they're interested in buying them?
Yeah, I think if you just hold them up to the camera, you'll be okay.
Okay. See, can you see that?
Yep. Perfect. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've got a few photos here that I'll sign if anyone's interested.
Yeah. Okay. Let's wait till we get the backstage. He's gonna get us a link in just a second, and we'll click that link and we'll go there and we'll continue the chat for a minute. This is great, Luke. I'm having a good time with this. So thank you very much.
I got dozens of road stories, mate.
Yeah. That's awesome.